I'm Jianming Qiu. I'm Dean of Engineering School. Welcome to this Engineering Dean's Lecture. What a turnout. Thank you all for coming. This lecture series was established to honor an individual who has played major leadership roles in and has made significant contributions to society through working in areas related to engineering and technology. I just have to read that. Today, we are fortunate to have Mr. Bing Lin as our speaker. Bing epitomizes what this lecture represents. He is the co-founder and the president of Xiaomi Corporation, and the electronic consumer product and technology company, and one of the fastest growing technology startups in China, and arguably in the world. Founded in 2010, Xiaomi leads innovations in mobile phones and other consumer electronic products for users in China, India, and many other countries. Bing has had an illustrious career in electronic and technology industry. Before Xiaomi, he was vice president of the Google China Institute of Engineering and the engineering director of Google Global, where he led his teams successfully launched many Google products, including Android Dictionary, Android News and the Weather Widget, Android Pinyin IME, Google Pinyin IME, Google Music, and Google Mobile Maps. Prior to Google, Bing worked at Microsoft for 11 years. In the US and in China, worked on many products for Microsoft. Bing received his Bachelor of Science in Electronics and Information Systems from Zhongshan University in China. His master's degree in science, his Master of Science in Computer Science, sorry about that. I have a hard time to say computer science, from Drexel University. In addition to being the president of a multi-billion-dollar tech startup, Bing also found time to teach. He has been a visiting professor in a number of top-ranked universities in China, including Zhejiang University in Hangzhou, Zhongshan University in Guangzhou, Nankai University in Tianjin, and Tongji University in Shanghai. You wonder if he ever sleeps at all. Well, he actually doesn't. On his way here, his flight was delayed at Newark for 5 hours. Then he got lost twice from the airport to his hotel, so he didn't get to the hotel room until 3 o'clock in the morning. Bing and his wife, Daisy, are proud parents of 2 jumbos. No applause? Sophia, a star swimmer on Tufts swimming team, just graduated last year. She's working for Facebook now. His second daughter, Sabrina, a freshman coming in this year, and she's having trouble deciding which sports to take, either swimming, volleyball, or track and field. I'm sure she will figure it out. Bing and Daisy are also strong supporters of Tufts. They have established the Bing Lin and Daisy Liu Endowed Scholarship, hosted Tufts events in Beijing, and traveled to other parts of the world to speak on Tufts' behalf. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bing Lin.
Thank you, Dean Q. I'm really glad to be here today. Thank you, Dean Q, again for a fabulous introduction. Well, I guess you cover 20% of my presentation already. So that helps. I've seen a lot of faculty members also here, Tony and Mike and a lot of faculty members. It's an honor to be here. And I also see a lot of young faces. Some of them are swimming team members, good friends of Sophia. And some of you might have already met Sabrina. And just to get a sense of the rest of the audience, I would like to do a few hand counts, okay? I will ask the questions of what you guys are doing, just to get a sense of what you guys do. Maybe, hopefully, I will do the best I can to make this talk as relevant as possible, to what your interest would be. So raise your hand if you guys are in the engineering college. Oh, wow. Wow, thank you. Almost the entire crowd. What about art and science? Anybody? Oh, geez, a lot of people are in 2 colleges? Is that okay? Is that legal? It is? Wow, that's exciting. What about computer science? Anybody computer science? Jesus. Well, we speak the same language. Yeah. Anybody want a freebies? No freebies? Nobody? Oh, we got this, Mi Band 2, that, track your sleep and earphones. Nobody wants it? Oh, there you go. Well, unfortunately, everybody wants it. I know for sure, but unfortunately, sorry guys, I don't have enough for everybody. So I'm gonna hand these freebies to Dean Q, and Dean Q will help me figure out how to hand those out to you guys, okay? Okay, something more serious. Any of you have been to some part of China? Anybody? Oh, a lot. Okay, great. Any of you are thinking of doing a study abroad program, which is very famous here at Tufts, in China? Oh, wow, one. We got a handful of them. Okay. Any of you are thinking of, or already are, doing your own startups? Oh, 1, 2, few. Oh, we got a handful. Great, that's great. Okay, so I'll do the best I can to tailor to everybody's interest. Now, just in case, during my presentation, if you guys, any of you think of these or whatever I'm talking about was boring, feel free to raise your hands. You can raise your left hands, and when I see enough left hands raised, I'll stop. Okay. And certainly, I would love to make this as interactive as possible. So if you have a question for me, raise your right hands. Okay. Then I will stop and answer questions. But forget not to raise the wrong hand. Otherwise I'll just stop. Okay. So confusing, left, right. Maybe you should raise your feet, okay, and say, hey, get out of here, boring stuff. Okay, anyway, great. So let me start what I have here. So this is my agenda, a brief intro of what I did, which actually Dinky already did a fantastic job. So I'll probably skip that part. And then what we think, as a startup, at the very beginning in particular, of building a product, what do we have in mind? And I'll briefly talk about the product innovations that Xiaomi and the ecosystem companies are doing. And some of the learnings that we have might be helpful to the Tufts students and also some of the faculty members, which you guys, as I have seen, doing some fabulous research works, which might or might not be applicable, but I think there's an area where we can work together and really push the innovations, product innovations forward. And then I'm going to share a little bit about, as a startup, what we think of marketing. Sooner or later, if you guys are doing your own startups or joining a company who you'll be mostly doing marketings, this is what will probably come up. So some of the learnings that we have in those areas, we would love to share our experience. And then last, if not least, is once you have a product, how are you going to sell it? What's the most efficient way of selling products? Okay. All right, so that's my bios. Dinky already covered most of it. I'm an engineer. I was an engineer. My first career was with ADP. You know ADP? The payroll company. Yeah. I work in New Jersey, Mount Laurel. Same as you? Oh, well, it's an exciting time. Back in '92, the systems I used to code, it was a system called OS2. Anybody know OS2? What OS2 is? Oh, wow. Wow. Well, it seems that we are in the same generation. So look at the young folks, no hands from the young folks, OS2. Well, for the young folks who want to know the OS2, you guys can go to some computer museums. You might be able to find them, okay? So maybe Amazon's, I don't know if they are still selling OS2 warp systems. But it was actually a very exciting operating systems to programming against. As I heard, I learned the first multi-thread, multi-processing programming on OS2. It's pretty interesting. Okay. And then from ADP, I make a shift over to Microsoft. I moved myself over to Seattle. And I start working on a couple versions of Windows NT. Anybody know Windows NT? More hands? Oh, wow, not that many. Well, it's a very fantastic server. I work on Windows NT, some of the NNTP and SMTP protocol. Geez, I feel like I'm so old. Anybody know NNTP, SMTP? Oh, okay, well, looks, okay, great, yeah. NNTP, newsgroup. It doesn't exist anymore, not in the modern time. SMTP is the mail server. I wrote a couple of versions of that, and it becomes part of Exchange. I work on Exchange server for, for a few release, doing all the codings. So for all the 11 years with Microsoft, I really value the very last 3 years that I work with the scientists. I have the luxury to work with the Microsoft research arm, where they have the best scientists in the world. They work on speech recognitions, face recognitions, computer graphics, visions, and they're doing amazing, amazing work. And some of the works actually are turning into what we call AI today. So it's super, super exciting. And at that time, I wasn't doing research. I wasn't a research guy. I was an engineer. So my work was to help the research scientists to do technology transfer, helping them to move the technology into products. Yeah. So, in 2006, I figured that it's internet time, and the Google opportunity came along, so I make the shift. And in Google, I work mostly on the Google Maps, Google mobile maps, and Google Voice Search, Google Mobile Search, and of course Android. I worked with Andy Rubin a few years. There's a small team that I was leading at Beijing, doing some of the input methods framework, some of the coding work back in Beijing team. So. That sets up my, my preparation for this startup. When I met Lei Jun in late year 2009, he is a fantastic guy. Anybody met Lei Jun? Oh, you met Lei Jun? Okay. Are you in Beijing? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So Tony, I'll try to get Lei Jun to come here. He actually came 2 months ago. I didn't know, until last minute. Otherwise, I'm going to try to get him to come here and meet you guys. He's a great guy to meet. Fortunately, he doesn't speak much English, so you guys have to figure out how you listen to his talk. Yeah. Other than a very famous "Are you okay?" But he's a very successful entrepreneur. He was also a computer science major graduates from a local Wuhan University in Beijing. He was executive at Kingsoft, and after that, he turned himself into a very successful angel investor. He investing in many startups in China. Before, both of us met, and we spent about a year planning these startups. And the tipping point for me to start doing the Xiaomi venture was back in 2010, when Google decided to exit from China. You guys have heard and know of these incidents? Yeah. So I said, well, maybe it's the right time for me to make the jump. So when I was 42, when I did the startup. So one of the lessons I was thinking maybe to the younger folks is, it's never too late to do your own startup. It's never too late. If I was one of the older, if not the oldest entrepreneur in China, 42. And I wasn't the oldest in all the founders here on this picture. There was another founder, who is 12 years senior of my age. Dr. Zhou is right here. So he's also educated here in the States, Georgia Tech. He's a PhD, specialized in antenna. And he joined the founding team almost the same time as we started the startups. And he's a hardware guy. He worked at Motorola for over 15 years. So the average age of all these 8 founders, Yeah, it's about 40. And we were joking, like all these old folks, had a dream, and we all are feeling really exciting catching the smartphone wave in China, and we somehow figure out a way to get together and do these startups. But we all somehow related. KK, the guy standing on my left hand, he was an engineer at Microsoft. He also got his undergrad computer science degrees from Purdue here in the state. And then the guy on the far right, Hongfeng was my colleague at Google. He was a product manager. Him and I together did a couple of products together. I was an engineer, he was the program managers, telling me what to do, what features to implement, and then I just write the code. And then there are a couple of local folks. Lei Jun is one of the very successful entrepreneur, engineer, and angel investors. And then right next to him, Ali, we just call him by nicknames. He was a designer, industrial design. And today, when you look at software and hardware products, any products that you build, designer is becoming such a critical role. How do you design really, really good user interface that people, when they use your app, when they use your hardware products, it becomes a very, very good experience and intrinsic. And then next to Ali, here's another designer. He graduated from Art Center College of Design. Anybody know where that is? Art Center, at Pasadena. Yes, at LA. Yeah, he got, it's one of the very good, I don't know anything about design, by the way. So anybody from design major here? Okay, oh, you are. So how is us? Well, Liu De told me it's one of the best in the state. Is it the best? Did he cheat me? You're not sure? Okay. Well, I figure I should at least verify, even the startup we have been doing this together for 7 years. Well, I've been to that school. It's a very cool school. It's up at the hill. This is one building across the top of 2 hills, and they get these fabulous, like futuristic car models, like all sorts of stuff. It was quite cool. And then here, Wang Chuan, the last entrepreneur, he was a local entrepreneur. He did the Me TV series, designed hardware, software, everything, all by himself. I've never been to the state. It was an entrepreneur. He founded 3 startups, and Xiaomi was the 4th one. So, of all the 8 guys, 5 of them are we call sea turtle in Chinese. Yeah, 海龟, sea turtle. I saw some Chinese face. I guess you guys know what that means. Sea turtle means in Chinese, it's the same sound as returning from overseas education. So we call it sea turtle. And then there are 3 that are we call in Chinese 土鳖. Right? Yeah, 土鳖, like the local duke, nerd. Okay, whatever you call it. What's the right translation? Well, some of you may help me. Yeah, 土鳖. Okay, yeah. So we are, okay, yes? Oh, turtle, yes. Yeah. Mud turtle. Okay. Oh, right. From the local land. Yeah, the local land turtle versus the ocean turtle, right? Okay, all right. I got it. Thank you. That helps. But of the 8 founders, our skill sets are very complementary. You see the hardware guys, you see the designers, you see the product managers, you see overseas returnees. Today in the tech field, there's no country boundary. There's so many suppliers who are in the state, in Japan, in Korea, in Taiwan, in Europe, where we have to work very closely. So if any of you are thinking of doing a startup, my recommendation is find co-founders. And even better, if you can find co-founders that possess skills complement to what you are good at, that's perfect. Okay. Even better is at Tufts, you have opportunity to meet with a lot of friends, classmates, swimming team members, jumbos, who have the same dream to say, we're going to go off and do some projects together. That's really helpful. And of course, you probably don't need eight of them, okay? Maybe 2 or 3 is enough. So. Okay, well, this wasn't the picture of the startups when we founded the company. It was taken 2 years ago, apparently. It's photoshopped beautifully. But matter of fact, startup usually isn't as good looking as the picture. Okay, this is the real pictures that we took 7 years ago. Well, it's I guess startup looks the same anywhere in the world. Yeah, except that in China there's no garage. You guys can go off and took your parents' garage and say, I'm gonna, a couple of folks go into my garage and start working on a project. In China, it's all industrial buildings. So this is what it looks like. Like typical startups, we're fortunate enough to find a space that's affordable, in renting. And on this date, the 6th of April, we got together and say we're gonna start doing something. The only celebration, you guys probably would notice, this thing. That's the only celebration. One of the co-founders' father, figured that we're gonna start moving into a new office. And he said, okay, well, your startup name is Xiaomi. In Chinese is little rice, millet rice, okay? So, okay, well, he sort of figured out, maybe we need to eat, before we start coding. So in the morning, he got up early, he cooked a bowl of little rice kanji, and then give it to us, send it to the office and say, okay, congratulations, here is the little rice kanji bowl and you guys should eat before you do any work. So we had these little photo taken moments, and then that's become a tradition of the company. For any new offices opening, we would cook a bowl of little rice kanji, and everybody drink the little rice kanji and start working. And we get so obsessed about the little rice. 6 years down the road, we actually built a smart rice cooker. We never knew that happened until it happens. We're so obsessed. That little rice cooker, one of the big features is it cooked really, really, really good little rice kanji. So I'll have a little bit of that in my presentation later, okay. As some of you might already know, doing a startup is just no different from any other startups. It's very tough. You just have to forget about whatever you have owned in the past. There's no support. There's no IT support to help you hook up your computers. There's no one who would help you answer your emails and phones. You have to do everything yourselves. And there's no fancy stuff, no free food and drinks from Google and Microsoft. You just have to pay for all of these yourself. And the only thing that you do, as a startup is to survive. And it's very brutal. That's why we only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 14 people at the very beginning. That's already a big team. With a couple of them from Microsoft and Google and a few of them from Kingsoft. And they're all engineers. And we figure out how to do finance, how to do HR, how to do law. I myself actually pick up the Qualcomm legal contract, which is only 60 pages long, and I read every single one of them. And those are all legal lawyer written contracts. Oh, Jesus, before I say anything, anybody from the law major here? Oh, you are! Oh, by the way, I love that contract. Oh, I love it really well. Oh man, the Qualcomm, this document that they have, we are signing the contract, the Qualcomm licensing, because we are using their chipset, and it's such a well-written document. Nobody in the team knows how to read it. Legend said, "Okay, Ben, you should figure out, what it means." I read every single pages of it, every single sentence of it. So, I think I'll probably be a qualified law student candidate here in the state. You just have to do everything. So get ready for that when you guys are thinking of doing startups. Okay. I should ask. Any questions before I move on to some of the learnings? Yes.
You mentioned about how you spent a year with Legion to plan out what you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
The vision you wanted for the company. So what are some things that you learned from your previous experiences, and how did you know while talking with him for over a year that this is what you want to do?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So matter of fact, for that whole year, we didn't talk about what to do. I think most of the time that we talk about was, I was at Google. I was driving the Android effort and the team in Beijing. And one of my job is to go talk to all the handset manufacturers to convince them to use Android. Android was launched in October 2008, 2 years after iPhone. And one of the big challenges for Google is to talk to these OEM manufacturers and convince them to use the open source free stack Android. Many of them were actually building phones with Windows Mobile back then. There wasn't any other solutions. There's no alternatives. And Leijun, apparently before he met me, he already see the comings of smartphones becoming the future trend. So when him and I talk at the very beginning, we mostly talk about, why open source Android are so powerful, what features the open source Android would need to have, and what are the software experience that we should be adding. So we talk a lot about technical and a lot about product features. And by the time we start talking about, hey, there's something that we can do together, we didn't stop at just, oh, we're going to go build a phone. Mostly we talk about, are there any opportunities around smartphone being very, very popular compared to feature phones? Symbian, you guys know, Nokia, yeah. So compared to those experience, what are could that be a possible super app or super things that we do around smartphones? So there's a lot of debate and discussions between the two of us. We didn't eventually decided to do the hardwares after we actually found the company. This is what I have never told anybody. A lot of people think that we started Xiaomi just to build phones, but it wasn't that. We were thinking maybe we should actually start building the software experience of the phone, which is more important than the hardware aspect of that. And that's why we didn't start the hardware effort until almost a year after the startup founded. So yeah. Matter of fact, we actually identified another opportunities as the company start operating, but we actually turned out that we didn't catch that, which is WeChat. Yeah, we had a project at the same time as we were working on Android MIUI. We had a small team, only 4 engineers, working on we call Miliao. Yeah, you guys probably some of you guys know. So Miliao was launched 2 months before WeChat, and it was back in 2011, and it was really, really well accepted. We see users doubling almost every week. It got from less than 10,000 users to 1 million users in less than 2 months. And our server just couldn't sustain the load. Every other night, we had this server failure where people just couldn't sign on. They couldn't get their message sent, or messages get lost in the middle. We ran into all sorts of problems because of the rapid growth of the users. And at that time, we thought, Jesus, this is going to be huge. Unfortunately, Tencent also think alike, and then they launched WeChat. And apparently, they had a much better infrastructure built on top of QQ. Yeah, the QQ backend, all the server sending messaging, it's already there. So when they launched WeChat, WeChat was built on top of the existing really, really perfectly lined up, well-tested infrastructures. So when people compare, a lot of people were using Miliao and WeChat at the same time. And if any of you are working on messaging apps, you would know the most basic important features of a messaging app is that you got to send the message across, right? Like no duplications, no delayed, and if you want to log onto the server, you better be able to log onto the server. And unfortunately, we suffer from that. So, we lag behind 6 months after, and then they just took over, went all the way. So there's a lot of, back and forth. This is probably just like any other startups in the world, where as the company founded, the most issues that you'll be facing is, would that be the future directions that would take off? And you don't know. So, a lot of startups, also same in China, you would have funded a couple of new efforts, alongside with with the directions that you believe is going to take off. Just in case if that didn't take off, there's a couple backup solutions. Yeah. Okay, any questions? Okay, so I'm going to move next. Okay, so when we founded Xiaomi, today you all know that we are more of a hardware company. But in the earlier days, we would rather be an internet company much more so than a hardware company. And the thinking was how we can do things in the internet way. And this reflects in many, many areas. One of the areas is how to build products. In the very beginning, as I said, we didn't start with building hardware. We believe a smartphone experience, the most important part of that is the software experience. So we took open source Android, and because of the extensibility of open source Android, we think, oh, we can build in any features that the users really like. Now that becomes a problem, because different people have different opinions. Although we have 14 people, you got 100 different opinions of, oh, they want these features. Oh, I love that features. And there's a long debate between the team to say what features to build. So at the end, we say, okay, well, forget it. We are not going to debate, all these features, feature-wise. Why don't we just pick just a couple of it, a couple of features that we all think are very helpful, implement it, and then put it on the web, and ask the users whether they like it or not. So does it sound familiar? Yeah. So this is what happened. A few months after the startup officially up and running, we launched, we call MIUI. It's matter of fact just an Android, but it's a custom version of Android. And then we launched the very first version on the 16th of August. And then after we launched this, we create our our web forums. We had web forums. And then on the web forums, we invited 100 users to be the beta tester. And we even put their names, on the startup screens of the open source MIUI. And then they just take the HTC One phone and then root the phones and refresh the phones with MIUI. These 100 users was in tears when they see their names on startup screen. They were so happy. Oh, geez, that's my name. That's me. And the main reason we have their names on it is that we hope they will contribute to giving us feedbacks on whether they would like those features that we build and stuff. And the good news, well, that's a Monday. When we launched, it's August 16. You can look up the calendar. It was a Monday. And then 2 days into after the launch, we receive over a dozen feedback. Only a dozen. And unfortunately, half of those are comments and feedbacks by our own engineers. They're trying to mimic to say, hey, those are what users really want. As a matter of fact, it's his feature. It's not any typical users. Like our engineers pretend to be someone else and then get onto the forums and say something. And then there's only just about 10 or 15 of the feedbacks that are like valuable feedbacks, but that's enough. We pick those feedbacks, do a couple of bug fixing, implement some of the features, and launch another versions on Friday. And then over the weekends, we see more users coming on, more feedbacks coming in, and then the team get to work again on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we launch another version the next Friday. And a few weeks down the road, this ROM got picked up by XDA developers. Anybody know XDA? Yeah? Yeah. Are you guys still on it? XDA? Not many. Geez, I don't know if it's still active forums. But back then in 2011, it was a pretty active forum. It's mostly for mobile software developers. They are sharing all the apps and all the stuff. And back then, Android was a big thing. And then after XDA picked this up, the number of users on the forums passed 2,000. Not many, 2,000. But it was a big number for us, for small startups. You got a couple of thousand people using your ROM and telling you what part of features they like, what part of the features they don't like. And that's such a valuable. That's the forum, well, actually 2 years back. It's 5 years after the company founded. 2 years back, we got 40 million users on the forum. And those users are being accumulated over time with over 200 some million postings. Of course, a lot of postings are just junk postings. It's useless. Okay, just ignore them. But there are really valuable feedbacks on the forum. If you just randomly pick any of it, there's this feedback about this new phone launching and open the box and what did they think of the open box experience. It got over 2,617 post replies. And many of these are feature requests. And this becomes really, really powerful. And the only weapon that, the secret that we have is, we get these Friday 5 p.m. updates every week. And we have been doing this for 7 years. And there's an added benefit. That's a chart that shows, how that works. It's pretty simple. Developers just start coding this, the first couple of days in the week, launch the, do a little bit of beta testing, and then launch it on Friday. And over the weekends, you will have to really look at all the feedbacks and get things fixed. And there's an added value for this rapid development model is you don't have to manage the team. Yeah, this is actually very valuable because when I work at Microsoft and Google, like software team management is actually pretty hard. In Microsoft, there's a principle of saying, a team lead cannot lead any more than 5 engineers because you have to check what they do code reviews, and make sure that the features are being designed properly. If you have more than 5 direct reports, you have to have another layers, right? But with this model, our engineers are all driven by the users. Their features are being voted by the users every week. And even if the team leads took off and take a few days, engineers don't know exactly what to do. And they would have to watch and look at all the feedbacks over the weekends. And they got to work over the weekends. It's very self-driven. It's super, super self-driven. And even today, we have over 1,000 engineers in the MIUI team. But these 1,000 engineers are being scattered around over like 50 projects, very, very small projects. And many of these engineers are actually self-driven by looking at feedbacks, checking their bug reports. We have an open bug database, which everybody can see. Even the users on the web forums can see that. So it's a pretty powerful rapid development models that that we believe might be valuable. And this is something that some of you might think of doing. And for instance, like this guy we got this popcorn award. Okay, it's some internal award. The award was being handed to people who get voted of implementing the most useful features that particular week. On the left-hand side, this big guy got awarded by implementing the pop-up video play windows on the phone. And back then it was a cool feature. This was back in 2011, 12ish. And then this guy got a popcorn award by implementing our game center. We actually launched a game center before Google, and people start putting on their game into these Android markets. So that's one learning. Now, not only we develop codes very fast with user feedbacks coming in. We figure that they can not only giving you feedbacks, but they can also tell you, they can also contribute to the features themselves. And this is what the crowdsourcing comes along. We have a lot of features that are all based on crowdsourcing. Let me pick just one example. Yes?
How does management work in the rapid development model for you?
Matter of fact, we do very little thing. We don't do much. We don't do much. Because we ourselves are also beta testers. And every Friday we update the build, we play with all these new features. In the over-the-air updates, it listed all the features that's being implemented in the week. Sometimes it goes very long. So we check every single features, and then we play with it. And if you find issues or you have feedbacks, you go onto the forum and tell them. That's interesting. We don't talk to the engineers. We go onto the forum and tell them. Like I have an account on the forums, and I would tell them like, hey, Jesus, this sucks, man. You got to fix all these bugs and problems. And sometimes they know. I don't know if they know that's me, but I guess they figure out. And of course, you can try to get them to raise the priority of your bugs and feature lists in the open database by posting a lot of posts, on the forums. Yeah, so there are tricks that you can, make. Good questions. So we have okay, for we now do have, but in the earlier days we don't have a very big system-wise long-term features, long-term values, but we do have the individual apps feature requests and what should the app looks like and functions in 2-3 months. I don't know how other sort of functions, but in Xiaomi, like in the earlier days, I rarely see people or teams having a very long-term vision. We think a week, we think a couple of weeks ahead of time, maybe 1 or 2 months at most. But we usually don't think, oh, 6 months and beyond. Of course, hardware is different because hardware, you're talking about supply chains, you're talking about a lot of, so we do need to have a long-term vision. But on software feature-wise, we are very date and week driven. And that's how the whole team functions. Now, we do have a mechanism later to split the debug build and the stable build. Now, this will probably come to your questions. The debug build is the one that rapidly evolve over a week. They make mistakes too. Right? Sometimes they had these really bad features put into the build, and people hate it. And it doesn't hurt, right? Because when they hate it so much, they will give you such a nasty comments, and you'll just take it away next week. So your mistake won't last for a week. It's nice. But there are also many features, random features get added. And then later we have the stable build, which is a user-voted version. So the stable build would update for a little bit longer period, maybe 2 months, 3 months. And it's all user voted, which is nice. Because all these beta testers, we are getting to about, active beta testers to about somewhere around 100,000 people, which is a very decent number. So with those 100,000 people telling you, oh, this build is actually stable enough, the features are all good, then you say, okay, we're going to make that as a stable build. So that's how the model actually work all by itself. We started to have a little bit longer term planning, probably 2-3 years back. And that was the management, well, us, sort of kick in. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So let me give you an example. This crowdsourcing is actually pretty interesting. Some of you have been to China. Now, you guys might be already be familiar with the fact that when you're in China, you bought a local SIM, put it in your phone, and sometimes randomly, Alex, you may be getting random calls. Yeah? Unsteady calls. Who knows? Like, oh, geez, how come I got so many friends in China? You pick it up and, hey, it's the telemarketing. Try to sell you stuff. It's the insurance guys try to sell you some other stuffs. And this is what we do. So this phone app that we have, when a call comes in, the phone app will tell you, hey, it's a spam call. And the reason it tells you it's a spam call is 185 other people said it's a spam call. That's crowdsource. And the way you do it is, if you get a spam call, Alex, next time, you hang up, and then there's a little button on the bottom and say report. And then we hit the button, it would let you select, hey, it's a scam call coming in, there's a telemarketers coming in, there's a taxi call coming in, just label it. Like, even better is, a lot of this call comes in, and you pick it up, you say, Jesus, there's some spam call coming in again. You hang up, okay? So if your call lasts for less than 15 seconds, this will pop up automatically when you end the call, the moment you end the call. So just click on that and say, hey, spam call. Yeah, enough people saying that's a spam call, then this number would show up as a spam call in all these other MIUI phones. So isn't that nice? Yeah. So we do a lot of, you can block it. You can say, hey, I block all these spam calls. And that's another example. Theme market. Now today, if you look back, this looks pretty ordinary. There's nothing fancy about this. But in the earlier days, Google Android supports this framework where it allows you to change your whole entire theme of the phones. The lock screens, your wallpaper, the icons. It's very powerful. And all you need to do is just learn a little bit of XML. It's pretty easy to learn. And you can have sound effects, you can have animations and stuff. So when we launch these theme thoughts, we got these designers all over the country, super exciting about this. And they start designing themes, uploading to the market. you can see author of themes. Like this is one of the themes that I just randomly pick up. Gingerbread themes, with a lock screen. You can throw the gingerbread in the water, in the milk, and the screen will unlock, right? So it's pretty fancy animations. Some of the themes actually are animations. This thing actually moves. How can I get this move? It moves. Do I hit this button? Yeah, it moves. It's this dream adventure animated themes. It's all user generated. Some crazy guys, car guys, get the Lamborghini themes. When you unlock your screen, it has this Lamborghini engine roaming. When you unlock the screens every time, so boom, boom, unlock. So it's a lot of fancy stuff. Someone even built a game, on your lock screen. So when your phones are locked, you can play games, on the home screen. And some, some stock traders build the stock market. You can actually check stock tickers on the home screen. Sports fans. So there are a lot of these that are all user generated, and they're becoming a big part of a really, really interesting feature. So that's the learning. Try to leverage internet as much as we can and web with your friends. Yes.
Is management of intellectual property an issue?
It is. It is. I can share a little bit about IPs later, but some of these themes we have this mechanism of you upload, and if someone comes to you and say, "Hey, look, you're violating my copyrights," we'll take it down. So it's very similar to what Google does with the takedown, notified takedown approach. Yeah. Anything else? Yes. It is. No. It's open source. MIUI is actually fully compatible, just like any Samsung phones or LG phones here in the state. So the apps that you download from Google Play onto MIUI, it just worked. You just have to maintain, as you're doing features, building features on top of Android, you need to maintain the compatibility. Otherwise, your phone will becoming, some of the apps will run, some not, and you would hurt the user experience. Yeah. So this is actually come in play very important. If any of you are working on Android system-wise project? No? Yes, you do. Okay. What do you do? Do you change the ROM? Okay. Yes. Yeah. So if you are only at the apps level, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But if you're going deep into the framework level, that's when you need to be careful, because the framework is the place where if you lose compatibility, then the systems would behave quite weird. Yeah. Okay. Yes. All right. So innovations. As it comes to innovations, we talk a lot about this. And we somehow tend to put innovations into two big buckets. One big bucket, which you guys are very familiar with, are buckets where innovations would, change the world. Okay, well, maybe it will change the world. There's some of it, there's not many, but some of it, which are happening. A lot of it are happening here in the state, which I'm a big fan of, and I'm just making some examples, So I love that, I met Elon a few times, and you talk about sending people to Mars, and it was fantastic. I don't know if I can get to Mars, but yeah, that too. Yeah, I heard that this is underway. Is it anybody? You are? Okay. Wow, that's too bad. I hope they figure out, hopefully it's not regulation issues. This is so cool. Okay, okay. But this is so cool. Yeah, I can't wait for this to happen. You know. That too. So you guys can see clearly I'm a big fan of what Elon Musk is doing. Anybody know what it is? Yeah? Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So like, I know that they're starting with people with like autism and more with like brain injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually trying to like lace up the gap between computers and human minds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fabulous. You know, this picture looks weird. You know, looks scary, but it's implantable computer brain-computer interface, implantable, and the aim is to you know, eventually, you know, human enhancements, basically, right? Cure brain disease, and eventually, this is probably what Tony's view is too. I don't know anything about this. I'm just, you know, I did a bit of reading myself. Fantastic. Some of the Elon Musk work here, driverless car. It's happening at Google and all these places. Tesla also doing something similar here. It's very, very cool. That too. You know, most recently they got this AlphaGo Zero. Anybody play the game Go here? Oh, you do? Oh. Are you good? No, I'm pretty bad. Okay. You should play the AlphaGo online. Yeah. I don't play that game, but the fantastic news about AlphaGo Zero, the most latest system, was the first version of AlphaGo was actually built on human learning, built on the history of all the Go games that are played by human. So it's still human knowledge. The latest AlphaGo Zero, there's zero human learning inside at all. It was purely learning, computer learning, and it took 40 days for them to get AlphaGo Zero to beat everybody. So, you know, these guys are doing just amazing, amazing, amazing work. Oh, doesn't. Should I just do this? Ooh. Oh, what happened? Sorry, guys. Okay. Yep, there you go. Okay. There's some local folks here. No, that's one of the local companies. Anybody from Boston Dynamic or have been there or have seen what they do? Anybody? No? Oh, it's a local company. I'm a big fan of them. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to take a visit there. But I know here at Tufts, there's a lot of research efforts that are, that are on par, even better than what they are doing. This is fantastic. Now, to us, instead of the bold, world-changing innovations, what we look at innovations are whether we can have innovations that will change our lifestyles. And as we start building smartphones, we figure that there's an opportunity where if you look around all the stuff that you are using every day, whether there's a way that we can make those little small products better over time and a little bit smarter over time. There's a lot of, as I see it, there's a lot of opportunities in these areas. We did this whole ecosystem products starting about 3 or 4 years back. And today, it's becoming much more clearer that this is going to be the future, another future of the innovations that we can push the envelopes. So we started the phone back in 2011. 2 years later, we launched smart TVs. And then now, today, we had this spectrum of products. And we call those, you can call them IoT device, or you can call them smart device, or whatever you can call it. But it's basically consumer electronics done a little bit smarter, a little bit better than the previous generation. There's so many of it. I don't think we have time to go through all of them. I would love to walk through every single. I will become so passionate about telling you guys every single one of these. You probably only take about 7 days. The fact that we don't have 7 days, I'm gonna. Oh, geez, we don't have enough time. So I'll just try to finish this in 2 minutes. So it's 1 o'clock coming up. Just pick a few innovations that I think you might have a reference or ideas to some of you if you are looking to do your startups. Sensor technology. And this is a big, big, big trend that we are seeing in industry. And you can do so much with all these sensors available, commercially available in the marketplace. This vacuum robot that we built, so look at it as no different from this vacuum robot compared to others. But if you look at the sensors that's being built in, these laser distance sensors, it's almost like this, very similar to the laser guiding systems, in self-driving cars. It scans the surroundings 1,800 times a second, and then try to rebuild the map, and then try to vacuum clean the floor, not missing any single spots. It's pretty smart. Let's look at the sensors being built around this robot. You get these wall sensors that knows it's hitting the wall. You get these cliff sensors that prevents it from falling off of the stairs. You get the gyroscopes and accelerometers. So all these sensors are being combined. And then people build algorithms around these sensors to make it really, really smart when it vacuums the floor. And plan passes and all that stuff. And I know here in the state, iRobot also had similar things. They have the collision type, and I think Nido also has these laser distance sensors where it's pretty smart. And all these are being built around good sensor technologies. The Ninebot Plus, I have one here. And then before I do any of this, I want to do a time check. Din Chu, should we be done by 1? A few more minutes? Okay, I'll do it. I'll skip the demo. If you guys want the demos, you can come along. Again, a lot of sensors. And this thing can actually follow you, with a remote control. It follows where you're walking. It follows you. You keep 1 or 2 meters behind you. It's pretty smart. It's like a mini Segway. Okay. I'm going to turn this on while I'm doing the talks. So it follows you. Eventually, you can get it to carry stuff for you. Wherever you go, just go to supermarket, and it works like a robot, The cloud. There's a lot of things that you can do with the cloud. These rice cookers I talk about, smart rice cookers. Now, not only it cooks really good rices. For any bag of rice that you bought in the supermarket, you take the phone, scan the barcode on the bag. It would know where the rice are being grown. And then automatically from the cloud, it finds the recipe of cooking that particular rice and download it onto the rice cookers. It's all smart. Yeah? And if you don't like the softness of the rice, you can adjust it on your apps. It's pretty interesting. Now imagine with all these Mi Band that track your sleeping patterns and exercise patterns, the scale that tracks your body fat and body weight, the air purifiers, the water purifiers. With all these data are being stored on the cloud, you can do so much. You can do so much. Imagine if you are doing an insurance policy company, they would die to have information about, how often you exercise, how well you sleep, how well you keep your body weight, and it will give you a really hefty discount, if they know you better, right? Yeah. And we also know, with all the water purifiers and water purifiers, we actually know which province or cities in China that has the best water quality. Pollution, the minerals in the water, the bacterial level in the water. And we also know what province or cities residents that exercise the most. What cities the residents would had a little less weight compared to the other cities, right? So there's a lot of public health projects that we can do with all this data. And I know here in the cloud and some of the faculty members' research projects, those are some areas that we would love to work with you guys, to do a test. AI, so I'm going to skip that. So we built these smart speakers where it's all voice-driven. The difference between this one and the Amazon Echo is it recognizes Chinese, Mandarin, sorry. And you can use this to control all the IoT device that we build, which is pretty nice. I couldn't get these things to set up. Otherwise, we can do a demo at Jinkyu's office later. It's pretty cool. Turn on the TV, play some episode, play a Lady Gaga song or something. Yeah. We can run some device. Keep that. Okay. I had 2 minutes to flip through all the rest of the slides. Really cool. Okay, marketing. Social media is your friends. When you guys doing startups, don't spend money on marketing, unless you absolutely has to. Leverage social medias. Here in the state, Facebook, Twitter, I know these guys charge a lot of money, try to get you to increase the reach, but figure out a way to increase the reach without paying. And a best way to do this is, work on your creatives. An example, Mi 5, we are using very powerful Snapdragon processors to tell users that the phones are super powerful, very fast. We got these videos. Let me show you. Oh, where's the sound? That's a world record. It's a world record keeper for jumping ropes. They jumps 1,000 times in 3 minutes. Yeah. That's another one. Yep. Asian record keeper. And that one too. Yep, that's another interesting. So these 3 videos got 33 million views in 7 days. Yeah. So all these are, we got this new examples about selling phones, and this is one of the movies, pretty famous movies back in 7, 8 years, about college guys chasing college girls. It happens here at Tufts too. So, and the way we took this is we took the movie posters, the 7 old men, went to a campus, took a picture of that, and then put the phone spec on top, and then placed on Weibo, right? So in one day, we got 2 million shares, and we got 900,000 comments, and we sold phones in 10 minutes. So it's all free. So work on your creatives, on social media, and it's really powerful. I'm going to skip this. So this is Legends, Are You OK? We built T-shirts and mouse pad with the Are You OK? We sold a bunch of these. Yeah. So selling, last 1 minute. Selling. There's no better channel of selling your product than selling direct. And I guess you guys know what that really means. It's hard. It's hard to set up your own, me.com, your own URL to try to sell your products. But I think it's worth every single efforts that you make that to work. No middlemen, much better user experience, better profits, since you are selling directs. Or if you're able to lower the price even further, it means better, bigger volumes. Much better user experience. And not only sell direct online, we actually sell direct also offline in our own store. We built over 200 stores, retail stores ourselves in shopping malls in China, which is a big thing. And we are able to sell the products at the same price as the e-commerce website. And you may think that, geez, it's a lot of work. You have to hire a lot of people. Cost-wise, it doesn't make any sense. But I tell you, it's actually the most cost-effective way of selling. If you don't have even if you are to sell over third-party channels, having a very strong self-direct channels would give you the strong leverage of negotiating down the rate that they demand. So that's our store, it's in Shenzhen. You guys are more than welcome to come to the stores if you are visiting Beijing or China or some other cities. With phones in the center, IoT in the back. So a lot of stuff. So some of the kids, so now those are Lego type toys. You put them together, you can connect with your phones, and it moves. You can control the robot with your phone. A lot of people. And we even built this self-experience. You can see the product, you can pay for it, at the wall. So, all right, so that concludes my talk. Sorry, I went over, by 5-10 minutes. Sorry about that. Thank you, guys. Ideas, it's up to the incubator to give it to you. Okay? Thank you, guys. Thank you.
In the interest of time, I know some of you have class at the meeting, so I'm not going to ask for any questions. So I'm going to stop here. But before that, I do want to present to our speaker one of the plaques so that you can keep hung on your wall, office wall. And
I should have a haircut because.
we will mail this to you, so you don't have to carry it back on your way back home. And because I noticed this morning was raining, so we got you a raincoat.
Oh, I need to.
So that we hope that you will wear
I
this
should do the talk.
all the time, everywhere in China or else.